In 2024, the narrative around cybercrime shifted. Cases that once seemed to hit dead ends due to jurisdictional issues were seeing movement. Key players who previously seemed untouchable were being brought to justice, marking a turning point in international cybersecurity cooperation. The situation for Mikhail Matveev had become increasingly precarious. The large reward on his head and the escalation of diplomatic pressure on Russia created an environment where the security of his continued residence in Russia was questionable. His situation no longer felt tenable in Russia. Russian law enforcement had previously shown a reluctance to cooperate fully in such cases, perhaps prioritizing perceived national interests. However, the value of that prior non-cooperation was diminishing in the face of growing international tensions. Matveev was now living under the constant shadow of potential extradition. His options seemed to be closing in Russia, but then an unexpected development shifted everything. A key figure in Matveev's life, his wife, Olga, was preparing to leave the country. While Olga's reasons for departure aren't publicly known, it likely stems from her husband's predicament. Understanding the risk that she and her family faced, she decided to seek asylum in the United States. The couple's decision to relocate to the United States reflected both the allure of greater personal freedom and the shifting legal dynamics. Russia's evolving stance on cybercrime enforcement may make future prosecution a real threat. This move isn't just about seeking asylum, it's a strategic choice to move to a place with greater personal and legal freedoms and a booming tech sector. The timing was crucial. With international pressure on Russia increasing, relocating now provided an opportunity to escape the scrutiny that made every day potentially dangerous. But there was a twist. Despite their plan to move to the United States, Olga and Mikhail flew to Turkey, a country known for its lax extradition policies. The couple had chosen an intermediate destination, Turkey, which suggests a deliberate plan to minimize risks. Arriving in Turkey provided time to observe American actions and assess their readiness to receive the high-profile cybercrime suspect. This approach allowed them to remain hidden while evaluating the situation. After 2 weeks in Turkey, Olga filed for asylum in the United States. Then, unexpectedly, Mikhail returned to Russia. Did the United States not want him after all? Did the Russians capture him? Perhaps. Or maybe something else entirely. Instead, Mikhail Matveev was preparing for a bold move. Back in Kaliningrad, investigators meticulously pieced together evidence. One thing became clear, though: Matveev was likely aware of the impending manhunt. His access to reliable communications suggested pre-awareness of plans. While it's impossible to say if he knew about the exact timeline of events, there's a strong indication that he was monitoring security discussions. What distinguishes this case from others is the meticulous preparation evident in subsequent moves. Faced with a shrinking window of freedom, Matveev took decisive steps. Moving from Moscow to Kaliningrad demonstrates a strategy to evade detection. The change in location suggested a desire to fade into a smaller population base, reducing the chances of recognition. However, his hopes for anonymity wouldn't last long. Law enforcement agencies around the world intensified their search for Matveev, realizing that his removal from Moscow might indicate desperation or vulnerability. Recognizing the possible danger, they moved quickly to establish a global manhunt. Meanwhile, Matveev attempted to alter his appearance. Security camera footage captured his use of disguises, such as sunglasses and hats, indicative of attempts to avoid recognition. He even shaved his beard, a distinct facial feature that was a part of his public online persona. The use of such disguises suggests not just an effort to hide his identity, but also hints at a heightened state of anxiety. The hope for a quiet exit probably faded away amidst the manhunt. With every passing day, the net was tightening. Realizing that a compromise was imminent, Matveev shifted to a defensive posture. He removed sensitive material from his servers, deleted incriminating data, and adjusted his routines to avoid detection. These actions suggested both a determination to protect his interests and an awareness of his compromised situation. Surveillance footage of Matveev's daily life reveals a routine indicative of a person living under the stress of a manhunt. He visited locations in his neighborhood more frequently, limiting his exposure to external areas. His routine had clearly changed from his earlier habits, suggesting a shift to survival mode. As the manhunt intensified, Mikhail Matveev was forced into action. There were signs of desperation and hasty planning. Witness accounts reported a sudden flurry of activity at Matveev's home, including the loading of suitcases and vehicles. It was almost like he anticipated an imminent disruption to his life. While it's impossible to know exactly what was going through his mind, the evidence suggests a mounting sense of dread and a desperate attempt to salvage his freedom. There was one problem, though. How do you disappear when you have a digital footprint as big as Mikhail Matveev? Despite the attempts to alter his appearance and modify his online presence, there's only so much one can do when their digital footprint is as extensive as Matveev's. Law enforcement and cybersecurity agencies had years of data about him. He could shave his beard and wear glasses, but it's hard to erase the memories and data stored on servers around the world. The first challenge for law enforcement and intelligence agencies was sorting through the vast amount of data related to Mikhail Matveev. Imagine trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is full of data, metadata, transaction records, communication logs, and more. Sifting through all of this to build a picture of his current whereabouts was a monumental task. What makes this story so interesting is that while all this was going on, the FBI was secretly working on a plan to arrest Mikhail. They needed to gather undeniable proof of his crimes. Thankfully, technology helped. The FBI planted a secret software program called a Remote Access Trojan, which allowed them to track his computer. On August 28, 2024, they arrested Matveev in Turkey, transporting him back to the U.S. for trial. He faces a maximum sentence of 75 years in prison, but that's small comfort for the millions of dollars in damages caused by his crimes. This case has implications for the future of cybersecurity. It shows that no matter how good your malware is, law enforcement and intelligence agencies are constantly improving their own technology to catch cybercriminals. We'll continue to follow this story as the trial progresses. Please stay tuned for updates. Now check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you should watch. Hit the subscribe button for more cybersecurity insights. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.